Results out from Famous Brands this morning show a 24% rise in headline earnings a share to 115 cents for the 6 months to August. That was off the back of a 12% rise in revenue to 908 million rand. The group raised its interim dividend by 40% to 70 cents. Joining me with more on the numbers and prospects is CEO Kevin Hedderwick. Kevin, thanks very much for coming in today. Kevin, traditionally the second half of the year is stronger for Famous Brands, but it looks like Christmas came a little bit early for you this year, doesn't it?
Yeah, it did. We certainly had a fillip from World Cup. If you look at the month of June on its own, our system-wide sales were up 24%. But it did fall back in July. Growth was back down to about 9.7. But I think to get the true meaning of World Cup, you need to look at June and July together. And June and July together, our sales were up 16%. So yeah, Christmas did come early for us. Yeah.
You also point out that March and April were particularly strong this year. Any reason for that? Just the Easter holidays?
Just Easter holidays and school holidays, yeah.
So would you expect the second half then to be slightly slower? Of course, we are heading into the Christmas season now, and that should be pretty good for you as well. Yeah,
we are quietly confident about the Christmas season. Our sales in December normally reach up to about 25% ahead of what a normal month would be, anywhere between 25 and 30. From a brand's perspective, our brands are well positioned. We're in all the major shopping centres. We're on the transient routes down to the coast. We're well represented at the coast. So if the consumer has some spare disposable income to spend, we'll be there at the end of the elbow, yeah.
And does the consumer have some spare disposable income at this stage? Because you do point out in the commentary that the mainstream middle market that you serve is still feeling a little bit cash strapped.
They are. Hopefully that the interest rates will help, but certainly we always see that the consumers seem to find their way to celebrate and visit our restaurants over December.
Of course, you do have quite a few different brands as we head into this December than you did a year ago. I mean, you've really been on an acquisition spree this year. But some small acquisitions, interesting ones. You bought Giramundo, a chicken brand, Vovotelo more recently. And I think you take that from the 1st of October. And then, of course, Kagan McGinty's as well.
Yeah. Yeah, we've acquired those three brands, as you said, in the last couple of months. I mean, I think that we find ourselves in a position where we have a business with a strong balance sheet. We've got a very solid business model. We've got great management. They're all ambitious guys. And so, you know, our view is that if the business comes along and it's best in its class or it's pioneering a new category, and we'll take it on.
Because lots of those are very small and niche brands, such as Giramundo and Vovotelo. How long does it take you to actually roll out a brand like that, to actually get some traction with that brand in the market? Well,
the Giramundo one is going to be interesting because it's our first real foray into the mainstream chicken category, which is huge in terms of size in South Africa.
And very competitive as well, though, isn't it?
Very competitive, particularly in what we call the deep fried category. We're going to compete in the flame grilled peri-peri side, so not quite as competitive there. But it's a huge category. We open our first two restaurants on the 1st of November, and we have every hope that Giramundo could become a mainstream brand in our repertoire.
Where will you be placing that? Will it be in shopping centres? Will it have a high street presence? Because it has been really confined to townships until now, hasn't it?
It has, but it's not designed to be a product that's designed simply just for the township business. I mean, we've got high hopes for the brand. We're hoping that over time it will become universally accepted by consumers. And so we'll opening in Kokstad and Elspeth because we have franchise partners with existing real estate there. But certainly we hope to gravitate that business into high streets and into major shopping centres in South Africa at a later stage.
How about the plans for Vovotelo? I think that they have 3 branches at the moment, 1 in Johannesburg, 2 in Port Elizabeth.
Yeah. Well, it's a unique brand. It's very much like the Tasha's brand we have. It's another attempt of ours to go upstream. Vovotelo is never going to be a mass-produced brand because it's artisan by nature. And so that brand will roll out a little slower than we will in a Giramundo. But Vovotelo's we've got high hopes for it. It's a nice product. It's artisan. It's a niche in South Africa. They're busy pioneering a category. And we believe that in the long term, there's certainly opportunity for that, you know, your local baker concept, which Vovotelo really is.
Interestingly with that, I see you're going to establish a baking academy for that because, as you said, it is artisan baking skills that need to be acquired. So good for employment at the same time and for upskilling people.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the academy that we're going to build at Midrand is going to be preparing bakers to go into the franchise system of Vovotelo. We've got an existing bakery at Midrand where we've had guys that have been working on that line for ages, so there's an opportunity for them to become more involved in the pastry side of the business, which is development for them. And obviously as well as that, when that asset is not working in terms of training, we want to use it to provide products to some of our other brands.
So such as your Mag and Bean brand, perhaps?
Yeah, Mag and Bean and Tasha's are 2 brands that use speciality bread. We do mass-produced bread out of Midrand for some of our other brands, but the speciality bread business to those 2 brands right now is outsourced. So there's upside potential for us in terms of establishing that asset.
Well, let's take a look at some of the numbers, though, for the past 6 months. And of course, the earnings growth wasn't surprising. You did have a trading update out recently. This was at the higher end of that trading update. 40% increase in the dividend. Now, that was probably quite a nice surprise. And I see the shares were up this morning quite well. A cash generative business, so you can afford to give dividends like this.
Yeah, the business is usually cash generative. Our gearing is right down to 16% now, so we're in a good space in terms of access to cash. And so, you know, our yield now is down to 1.6, which is the lowest it's been for a long time, and we're pretty confident we'll be able to maintain that.
You said the gearing down to 16%. Is that post the acquisitions that you have made over the course of the past year?
Post acquisitions, yes.
How about some of the other acquisitions? You talked about Tasha's, so that was a slightly older acquisition, also Mug & Bean. How have those fitted into the chain, and how have they been trading?
They traded very well. I mean, Tasha's is a phenomenon. If you go and visit any Tasha's in South Africa, you'll want to know where the recession is, because there isn't one. I mean, those businesses have run a queue since the time they've opened. We've ramped that business up this year. We're on site right now. We're opening 2 new Tasha's, one in Rosebank and one in Gateway within the next 7 days. And then we move on to Constantia. So it's fitted in very well. And the Mug & Bean has done spectacularly. I mean, it's been a wonderful acquisition for us. We've done some work in terms of trading formats with Mug & Bean, and it's been a very, very good acquisition.
Trading in the UK, because they're also a bit under pressure, particularly with austerity measures in that country.
Yeah, trading is tough in the UK. I mean, if you look at the most recent things about, you know, laying off another 500,000 people in the government department, so we trade at the middle to bottom end in the market in the UK, so it's a tough place to trade, but I'm at pains to point out that we're there for the long term, and we'll ride the storm, and hopefully when the economy comes, we'll be in a good position to grow.
Kevin, quickly, just to repeat to the prospects for the second half, what would you expect by the end of the year?
Well, we're hoping to be able to sustain the momentum that we've delivered in the half year, so I'll be very happy if we're able to repeat that performance in the second year.
Kevin, thank you very much for coming in today.
It's a pleasure.